The Galactic Preservation Center on Station Kepler 442 hummed with the quiet efficiency of automated systems. But in Sub-Level 7, something had gone terribly wrong. Maya Chen pushed her cleaning cart through the dimmed corridors, her worn sneakers squeaking against the polished floors. Third-shift janitorial work wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills and let her avoid the crowds that made her anxious. She preferred the solitude of empty halls and the meditative rhythm of her work. Tonight, however, the silence was broken by something she'd never heard before, a sound that made her heart clench. Soft, hiccuping sobs echoed from the xenobiology wing. Maya abandoned her cart and followed the sound, her flashlight cutting through the darkness. The crying grew louder, more desperate, until she found herself standing before Containment Room 7-C. Through the reinforced glass, she could see them. 3 dragon hatchlings, no larger than house cats, huddled together in the corner of their enclosure. Their scales, midnight blue and silver, rippled with bioluminescent patterns that pulsed erratically with each sob. Their tiny wings, still translucent and membrane-thin, trembled violently. Maya's breath caught. She'd read about the Draconis stellaris species in the station briefings, an ancient, highly intelligent race that had gone extinct when their homeworld was consumed by a supernova. These 3 were the last of their kind, grown from genetic material, preserved in a deep space archive. The scientists had been ecstatic about the successful hatching 3 days ago, but where were those scientists now? She checked the duty roster on the wall terminal. Dr. Vexthor and his team had been called to an emergency council meeting on the main level. Standard protocol dictated the hatchlings would be fine for a few hours with automated care systems. Standard protocol hadn't accounted for the power fluctuation that had knocked out the temperature regulation an hour ago. The room was freezing. Maya looked at the keypad. She wasn't authorized. Contamination protocols, species preservation laws, a dozen regulations flashed through her mind. She could lose her job. She could face criminal charges for unauthorized contact with an endangered species. Another sob pierced the air, and she watched the smallest hatchling, its scales a paler shade than its siblings, collapse onto its side, shivering. "Screw it," Maya whispered. She overrode the lock using her supervisor's emergency code. Jake Martinez owed her for covering his shifts anyway, and the door hissed open. A wave of frigid air washed over her. The hatchlings' heads snapped up, their eyes, large and luminous like molten gold, fixed on her with a mixture of terror and desperate hope. Hey, it's okay," Maya murmured, kneeling slowly. She shed her jacket and approached with careful, deliberate movements. "I'm not going to hurt you." The largest hatchling hissed, a tiny sound that would have been adorable if not for the genuine fear behind it. It positioned itself protectively in front of its siblings. Maya sat cross-legged on the cold floor, several feet away, and simply waited. Her grandmother had taught her patience, how to gentle frightened animals on their old farm in Montana. The principle, she figured, had to be universal. Seconds turned to minutes. The hatchling's sobs gradually quieted to sniffles. The smallest one, still on its side, let out a pitiful whimper. "You're cold, aren't you?" Maya said softly. "Yeah, me too. This place is like a freezer." She spread her jacket on the floor between them, creating a warm barrier, then slowly pulled off her thick flannel overshirt, leaving her in just a t-shirt. The cold bit at her skin immediately, but she ignored it. "Look," she said, holding the shirt open. "Warm, safe." The largest hatchling tilted its head, studying her. Then something remarkable happened. A voice echoed in Maya's mind. Not words exactly, but feelings, images, concepts, confusion, fear, loss, and underneath it all a desperate, aching need for comfort. "Oh," Maya breathed. "You're telepathic." She opened her own thoughts carefully, projecting memories of her grandmother's embrace, of being held during thunderstorms, of safety and warmth and love. The largest hatchling's eyes widened. It made a decision. Slowly, with immense dignity despite its size, it approached. When it was close enough, Maya gently scooped it up, wrapping it in her flannel. The hatchling's scales were cool to the touch but warming quickly. It buried its head against her chest, and Maya felt a purr-like vibration begin. The other two needed no further convincing. They scrambled forward, and Maya gathered them close, wrapping all three in her shirt and jacket, tucking them against her body heat. The smallest one nuzzled into the crook of her neck, and Maya felt her eyes burn with tears. They were so small, so fragile. The last of their entire civilization, and they'd been left alone in the cold. "I've got you," she whispered, rocking gently. "You're not alone anymore." The hatchling's bioluminescence steadied, shifting from erratic pulses to a gentle, rhythmic glow that synchronized with Maya's heartbeat. Their telepathic presence in her mind felt like warm sunlight, gratitude, relief, and something deeper. Recognition, perhaps. A bond forming. Maya lost track of time, sitting there on the cold floor, three dragon hatchlings sleeping peacefully in her arms. She hummed old lullabies her grandmother had sung, songs in a language she'd never learned but had absorbed through repetition and love. When Jake Martinez finally found her 2 hours later, alerted by the open door, he stopped dead in his tracks. "Maya, what the hell?" "Temperature regulation failed," she said quietly, not looking up from the sleeping hatchlings. "They were freezing. They were crying, Jake." Jake stared at her, then at the hatchlings, their scales now glowing with healthy, steady light. He ran a hand through his hair. "Jesus, Chen, you know what you've done?" "Yeah," Maya said, meeting his eyes steadily. "I know." Jake was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed, pulling out his comm unit. "This is Martinez. We have a situation in 7C. Get Dr. Vexthor down here immediately, and someone fix that damn climate control." When the Draconis ambassador arrived 3 days later, summoned from across the galaxy upon hearing that the hatchlings had survived, he found them thriving. More remarkably, he found them bonded. The dragons refused to let Maya leave. When she tried to return to her duties, they cried. When she entered the room, they sang, a sound like crystal bells that made hardened scientists weep. "In our culture," the ambassador explained, his voice heavy with emotion, "the first being who shows a hatchling unconditional love becomes their kestraval, their heart parent. It is a sacred bond." He looked at Maya with something like reverence. "You, Maya Chen, are now the mother of the last dragons. They are your children, and you are their guardian, recognized by ancient law that supersedes your station's regulations." Maya stared at the three hatchlings playing in her lap, their telepathic joy a constant warm presence in her mind. She thought about her studio apartment, her solitary life, her carefully maintained isolation. Then the smallest one, she'd started calling him Pip, looked up at her with those golden eyes and projected a single crystal-clear concept: home. Maya smiled, tears streaming down her face. "Yeah," she whispered, holding them closer. "Home." The janitor, who had scrubbed floors in solitude, became the most important human in the galaxy, not because of any grand destiny or chosen prophecy, but because when she heard someone crying in the dark, she didn't walk away. She sat down in the cold, shared her warmth, and held them close until morning came. And sometimes, that's all it takes to change the universe.